Mr. President, I thank you for convening this resume emergency special session of the General Assembly in the context of the ongoing genocidal war perpetrated against the helpless civilian populations in Gaza and the historic advisory opinion of the International Court of Justice on 19th July 2024, issued upon the request of this August General Assembly and declaring the Israeli occupation in the occupied Palestinian territories illegal. Bangladesh aligns itself with the statements delivered by Cameroon and Uganda on behalf of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation and the non-aligned movement, respectively. Mr. President, the ongoing atrocities in Gaza against unarmed civilians Palestinians have already caused more than 41,000 deaths, including of more than 14,000 children and more than 11,000 women. And this is an undercount, as most of the missing 10,000 plus Palestinians are believed to be buried under the rubble. More than 100,000 people have been injured, with 1.9 million people displaced, living under inhuman conditions. Unfortunately, despite resolutions passed in the UN Security Council and UN General Assembly, this massacre of a besieged civilian population continues unabated before the naked eyes of the whole world. An immediate ceasefire, as stipulated in the Security Council Resolution 2728 of 25th March 2024, remains elusive till date. We have also witnessed hundreds of deaths in the occupied West Bank since October 7. These are not only grave violations of human rights, but also gross violations of all international humanitarian laws, including those on the protection of civilians. These ongoing indiscriminate killings of civilians cannot be acceptable by any standard. The international community must act and must bring an end to such grave crimes against humanity. The perpetrators need to be held accountable. We welcome the historic verdict of the ICJ on 19 July 2024 and call upon Israel to fully abide by this. The illegal occupation of the Palestinian lands must end within a specific time frame. The UN Security Council should immediately recommend full membership of the State of Palestine to the United Nations. As an immediate first step to implement the historic advisory opinion of the ICJ, we demand that Israel must stop its military operations in Gaza and in West Bank and withdraw its troops from Gaza and agree to an unconditional permanent ceasefire. Israel must also stop building new illegal settlements and must dismantle all existing settlements and evacuate all from the Palestinian lands. The United Nations and its member states must undertake all measures to establish Palestinian sovereignty in all Palestinian lands as per pre-1967 borders. We must press Israel to end its apartheid-like illegal colonial occupation of the Palestinian territories. Israel must be compelled to provide reparations to the Palestinian civilians victims as part of its compliance to the ICJ directives. Mr. President, the advisory opinion of the ICJ is indeed an important addition in the efforts of clarifying the international legal regime's non-approval of Israel's illegal acts of occupation in the occupied Palestinian territory, in addition to numerous UN Security Council and General Assembly resolutions. We need to uphold the verdict of the ICJ and need to undertake tangible collective measures to end the more than 7-decade-old miseries of the Palestinian people. We also appreciate the indictments of the International Criminal Court related to the war in Gaza in the midst of formidable challenges. The international community needs to stand beside the ICC in this regard. We believe that for the perpetrators of mass atrocity crimes, this is important that their accountability is ensured. We hope that all segments of the UN system would cooperate in this regard. We appreciate the Secretary General's and the UN Human Rights High Commissioner's statements so far about the abysmal humanitarian and human rights situation in Gaza, and would expect that all member states would address the grave situation without any double standard. Mr. President, the draft resolution AES 10/L31 Rev 1 of this emergency special session calls for the implementation of the ICJ verdict, and the United Nations system and its member states need to undertake all necessary measures to that end. The adoption of this resolution today, in our view, would be another important step towards outlining the legal consequences of Israel if it does not agree to end its occupation. Bangladesh has co-sponsored the draft resolution, and we call upon all member states to vote in favor of the draft resolution. In conclusion, Mr. President, while we are discussing watershed outcome documents like the Pact of the Future, Declaration for the Future Generation, and Global Digital Compact, which are to be adopted in this month, this is regrettable that the international community is still watching such mass atrocities to continue in Gaza in particular, and such illegal repressive occupation of Palestinian lands in general. This cannot continue any longer. Therefore, we demand actions so that our Palestinian brothers and sisters get rid of the scourge of occupation and atrocities soon and can be able to live peacefully as an independent nation. I thank you, Mr. President.